a lot has been kind of discussed generally about indigos, so the perspective I'm going to share with you is more of what I would say the Guardian or Sirian Council kind of perspective on exactly what the indigo races actually are. And there's a couple of new faces here, so I'm going to kind of as well give a background on myself as to where this particular level of information is coming from. It is a very specific, I would say, energy signature, and so again, it's just one of the prisms of God consciousness that's being provided for us at this time. And when I say us, I mean humanity, as we're going through a really intense and amazing time of what is called the Ascension, or shift to a new paradigm. And so the Guardian Races and the Sirian Council contacted me and prepared me over the last 8 years with the different levels of curriculum and testing in order to take me through a process and awareness of the human ascension process on this planet and what humans are looking at in the 2012 cycle in terms of the next level of our species evolution. The pieces of that play that we've come to actually participate in, and the indigo races have a big piece to play in the ascension process, and so it's good to kind of understand that those beings that are here to sort of hold the awakening codes and the resurrection codes of the ascension are generally referred to as the indigo races or the starseed races. So again, just to back up for a moment, again, I'm Reneé, and the Sirian Council is a part of the Guardian Races that are here to assist planetary ascension in humanity and understanding a particular model of the ascension process. And so again, all that I share with you sometimes may seem a little bit, I would say challenge to new ideas and beliefs. And again, what's really important is this information is intended to empower you, to be thought-provoking, and to really help each and every one of us develop our own individual framework and model as to what our sole purpose is, what we're here to participate into the larger whole of human evolution and ascension. And this is just one particular, again, lens of perception to share with you from the Guardian Races that are 12th dimensional and above beings. So they've given me a cosmology to help us understand our time matrix, and in understanding the nature of our dimensionalized system, which dimension is again simultaneous to time and space. So outside of a dimensionalized system would be considered like God matrix, the center point of all union, of which we are a part of as source. Within that particular matrix of a God system, which is not dimensionalized. So the dimension, when I say dimension, it also means time-space. So the interesting thing to note is they've given us a matrix of a 15-dimensionalized system as a cosmology for our time matrix. And understanding this also helps us to understand that the phenomena of indigo is spiritual and it's genetic. Each level of dimension of which we have an aspect of our consciousness or our mind matrix is also a part of a genetic capacity that we are holding in what's known as our DNA template. So indigos are actually, most of us are holding codes, genetics, color spectrums of higher dimensionalized system and have come into the third dimensional Earth in order to bring those higher dimensionalized codes. And again, when I say higher, this has no difference in terms of value, but it has everything to do with in terms of just genetic capacity and having the consciousness and awareness to span a multi-dimensional system. So right now, just to kind of explain in terms of where most of humanity is, most of human consciousness is in a third dimensional system. So when we come into a third dimensional biology such as this, we come in with 3 chakras firing. And again, to kind of understand this is to think of it in terms of chakra system. With each chakra is a dimension, with each number system, with each dimension is a level and identity of which we have an aspect of our consciousness. And so here at the third dimensional level, the species, the human species is going through a dramatic shift in terms of human consciousness and moving into higher reality spectrums, into higher dimensions. The indigos are the soul groups and beings that are actually here through soul agreement, and this again is through the Guardian Alliance sort of perspective, to assist the human races in reaching those evolutionary goals a little smoother and a little easier. So again, just to step back for a moment, in terms of indigo, the word indigo, of course, has been used in a very generalized spectrum. So to understand, indigo is a color wave spectrum. It is from the 6th dimension. So when we talk about indigo children and indigo beings, generally the clairvoyants and the healers, the beings that started to see auras around the human race that were of indigo color, this was actually, I think, formalized by someone named Nancy Ann Tappy in the 80s, who, as a sentient clairvoyant being, started to see this indigo color emanating off of the human aura. And this was apparently new for her and her experiences. She wrote a book, I think, Understanding Your Life Through Color. And this is where the indigo was actually coined, and we started to, this whole phenomenon about indigo children and crystal children, and speaking about indigo started to come into being. So indigo, when you understand the color spectrum of humanity, is actually a 6-dimensional wave spectrum. So the indigo races started to come in, and according to the Guardian races, about 100 years ago. And this was because we were preparing for the Ascension Cycle that humanity was undergoing. And so most of us that were termed as indigo meant that we had our 6th-dimensional DNA strand at least partially activated. It may have been slightly dormant, but as we aged and experienced the human system, at some point along the way, our 6th-dimensional DNA and chakra would become more activated than most of the balance of society. So many of the indigo races then had a lot more hypersensitivity. And in my own experience, what I've noticed among this particular soul group is the etheric natus, the neurological structure is very different than what I would say in term to a 3rd-dimensional being. So what's happening right now in terms of the Ascension Cycle is there is a demarcation point starting to, let's say, be created between 3rd-dimensional beings and multidimensional beings. So when I use the term multidimensional, it's as well a part of the indigo race spectrum. There's indigos as well is a term used for beings that have come from the 6th-dimensional portal system, but not necessarily are they from the 6th-dimensional, let's say, as a star nation or star seed type of being. So most of us, some of us are indigo that actually emanated from the 6th-dimensional system, galactic system, and yet there are others that came from other systems that actually use the 6th-dimensional portal to incarnate into the 3rd dimension. So what the Guardian races have explained to me is that over the last 100 years, starseed beings or indigo beings started to become incarnated and volunteered to hold particular levels of light codes of information from their particular star system. And this was again to help the 3rd-dimensional human being to be able to go through the 2012 Ascension Cycle as easily and smoothly as possible. So again, that meant that through that soul contract, most of us have agreements to embody higher frequencies and codes, almost as if we are a human acupuncture point, quite frankly. Because the energies and frequencies are actually transmitted through our vehicles, through our bodies, and we then download them and anchor them into the 3rd-dimensional grid system of the planet Earth. So I hope this is making some sense, because I know in prior classes I have talked a lot more about multidimensional anatomy, the etheric nadial structures, and our journey of ascension through the chakra model. And if you had taken those classes, then this would make a little more sense, because our neurological structure is what conducts, transduces, and transmits these particular frequencies from the other dimensional realms. It comes through our physical bodies, as well as there's solar activity as well, which is a DNA activation tool. But in order for us to actually assist the collective group of the human species, it is the human species model that must embody the higher frequencies. So as each and every one of us starts to activate our DNA, starts to activate prior dormant potentials in our genetics and DNA, we start to open larger instruction sets, which are called morphogenetic fields, which are a type of grid system as well. Hi, welcome. And as we do so, this allows this frequency and particular energetic signature to grow larger into the human race and therefore give the opportunity of this particular evolution and genetic advancement to the balance of humanity. So in another way, this is another way to say one of the Indigo Soul's purpose is to hold at whatever level particular increased levels of vibration, genetic coding, that is to assist the balance of humanity in moving through a higher dimensional reality. Now, the Guardians consider this level of the third dimensional Earth to be a lower form world. Now, the reason why they consider it that is because at this level of consciousness, the beings that exist in the third dimension are cut off from their soul. This is considered the personality matrix of our consciousness at this level. Our soul matrix actually exists in the next universe, the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional level. So to kind of look at this as a model, this would be the first three dimensions of the planet Earth is considered the personality matrix. The next level into the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, there is a parallel Earth of ourselves, and this is considered our soul matrix. At the 7, 8, and 9 level, there's another Earth, and again, to really kind of mind bend, which is interesting, is the further we go up the scale, the more in future we go in time. So right now, so you could see, and by the way, let me finish that thought, so this is the oversoul level. And when we come up to 10, 11, and 12, there is not another Earth stationed at that level. It has since exploded or imploded. The 12th dimensional level is the original intention of the human species prototype. The Guardians do call this, or the Sirian Council do refer to this as the Christ. This has nothing to do with how the name or term of Christ in the biblical religions has been portrayed here in the third dimensional Earth, but it is an energy signature. That energy signature is the first differentiation of the three primal sound fields of God's source. So as they describe this, just to kind of go back, is beyond the 15 dimensions is a non-dimensionalized system, a God matrix. Within that God matrix is 15 dimensions. The first three dimensions are the first three primal sound fields of which all creation, all life stream in this matrix is comprised of. Those of you that may have studied some of the Ascension material, Ascended Master material, when they talk about the threefold flame, that's what this is. Three primal sound fields of blue, gold, and amethyst, or I think sometimes they refer to it as red. These are the three primal sound fields of which all creation is composed of and is a part of our 7-ray system. If you've also studied the 7 rays, how each of the chakras have a particular correlation, this is also a part of that as well. These are the aspects of our creation. The next 4 rays are the attributes of our creation. So all of what is comprised in this time matrix actually sources from these 3 particular fields of energy, which are gestalts of consciousness. I think at our level is very hard to attempt to comprehend. So these 3 primal sound fields merged, and they created the 12th dimensional prototype, which is the human species and known esoterically as the Christ. So it is an energetic form, it is a blueprint, it is a morphogenetic field of instruction set. It is the first level of the crystal body in its creation before the creation became distorted and broken down and fragmented to experience the various levels of dimensionalization. So at this level of consciousness, again, is really what the goal of the third dimensional human is to first ascend and be able to be liberated from the reincarnational wheel of the lower form world, and to move into experiences that are more soul-based or infused or oversoul-based or monadic-based in terms of our consciousness. Now, the guardian point of view is that the third dimensional human has been perpetrated to some extent in terms of suppressing consciousness from its natural biological ability in through the experience of this particular time-space vector.